of the nature. You were saying not. Question wasn't so much on the qualities as on motive, right? But still, the motive and the qualities will be matched, right? The qualities of ability to do business. What's the motive? Profit, right? The Kshatriya, has the qualities of administration and all that, but what's his purpose? What's his motive? Influence. Brahman, he teaches, he studies, he does, but his motive is knowledge, right? The Shudra's motive is art, fame, right? Does that make sense? Recognition for the, quality performance of their art. Does that make sense? So we can see is that knowledge is the motive, or you could say knowledge is a motive, but the field is the scriptures, right? The field of knowledge, you're trying to gain an understanding or gain realization. The Kshatriya works in the field of administration with the motive for influence, right? The Vaishya works in the field of economics for profit. The Vaishya and the Shudra works in the field of arts and sciences for the purpose of fame, right? Or you could look at it. Another is that in the field of knowledge, then they are looking for freedom from material entanglement for the Brahmins. The Kshatriyas, in their field of influence, then they're looking for proper establishment of Dharma. They want to see everything as properly structured and according to Scripture. Right? The Vaishyas, then, their motive is, in the economic field, is the development of economics and to seeing that proper justice and ethics are in place. Otherwise, you can't enjoy your economics, right? If there's no justice and ethics, you can't enjoy what you've gained because everybody else can take it, right? And for the Shudra, the fame and all that, then it will end in sense gratification. Does this make sense? Like that. So like this, one can see what's going on. So in any case, whatever field you're dealing in, it doesn't change the working in that field. Because the point is even if you have a different motive, still the field works on basic fundamental principles. Right? So dealing with the field still has to be dealt with in the way that field is to be dealt with, whatever your motive may be. Does that make sense? Like you have somebody who does some big economic endeavor to get money so that therefore he can have political influence. But within the smaller circle of getting the money, then he has to deal with the economic field so he gets profit. So he has to deal in the same way the businessman does to get the profit. Once he's gotten the profit, now instead of just enjoying himself or his family or setting himself up and making himself more economically secure, he'll use it to make himself politically secure. You understand? This is where the mixes are coming in. But whether it's mixed or not, the point that we're making is that one still has to deal with the field according to its own nature. It doesn't matter. Right? You can't change that. Does that make sense? So why we're emphasizing that is because then if someone's in a position of administration, it doesn't matter, let's say the person's Vaishya by nature, but still the element of protection, which is the symptom of administration, must be there. It's not, you're not actually doing administration. So even though he's a Vaishya, and so administration is not so important to him, but he does it because then he can organize the devotees and they'll go out on Sankirtan and they'll make lots of money so that he can do all kinds of nice things in the temple. They can have programs, nice deity worship, nice facilities for the devotees. So he may be thinking of it in the way of the prophet, but still how he deals with administration still has to be based on protection. Because if people aren't protected, then you're not going to get what you like. Now he's going to apply that feeling of a protected person for profit rather than for influence. But in any case, the dealing of the field has to be the same. Does that make sense? So, like that, one has to see that the field has to be dealt with according to what it is. And it doesn't change. It's Krishna conscious or not. Let's say you go to a job and, you know, you are an accountant. And so you do the accounts of a particular business, right? You're going to use all your mathematical systems to do that. Now let's say you become a devotee. Does your accounting system change? No. Does your applying the accounts on that company's, you know, how you say, income and expenditures of money change? No. Okay. So, therefore, now here comes a really good one. Why would Krishna conscious marriage be any different than a mundane marriage in day-to-day effective interaction? Why would it be any different? Because as we've established, the technique or the mechanics of the field remains the same. What you change is the consciousness. So what would be the difference in Krishna conscious family life and not Krishna conscious family life as far as the mechanics of personal interaction? You understand? What pictures you put on the wall and this, that may change. You're a devotee, you put pictures of Krishna. You're not a devotee, you put that picture of your grandfather with everybody else. You understand? So that's why I say these points, because devotees will go great theory, but in their life they won't apply this. And then they'll have the I would say, what would be the word, gall or chutzpah, to say that it's the problem in the Vedic culture. No, the mechanics are the same. In fact, family life comes from the Vedic culture. It doesn't come from tribal culture. They're not the ones that generated. Right? You see the lifestyle of Yudhishthira and Draupadi and them. Quite sophisticated. Who today can say that they're up to that standard? Right? And to say now tribal life has created this. The English lifestyle has generated the Vedic? No, it's the other way around. Because they were kings and that, and they're always right because they deal on scripture, therefore the English kings think that they have divine right. But the point is they have divine right as long as they represent the divine. But when they think they are the divine, that's where the problem is. Therefore Magna Carta. Kings didn't like that. You understand? Our point is there shouldn't have to be a Magna Carta, because the king will rule according to God's laws. So what the Magna Carta established and beyond will be done by a proper king. So there's no need for it. Right? The modern man, because of his lack of God consciousness, then he's had to develop over thousands of years a sophistication of how he deals with the material energy, so that basically he doesn't bother anybody else. And then they think that therefore they have a superior social system. But the Vedic system, because it's based on the original God's laws, it's far superior than anything based on man's laws. So that doesn't change. So that means that the family shows that affection, shows these things. That's why one's in family life for. Otherwise, why would one get married? But at the same time, one has to connect that to Krishna. Right? Now the point is that it's Krishna's devotees. Right? So you have to deal with them how Krishna would like his devotee to be dealt with. You understand? But the form doesn't change. Right? So devotees will say on the economic platform, you know, well, you know, we can't change, you know, the mechanics of family life and all that. You know, we got to make money and all that. So it's not practical to do all this service in the temple and this. We got to be practical and make money. So that they'll do. They'll make that practical. But in actual dealings with their family, where are they being practical? Practical means following God's laws. Does that make sense? Divorce means God's law wasn't followed. Otherwise, why didn't it work? So something was wrong somewhere in one or the other or both or the arrangement or the situation. Something's not right. Otherwise, why wouldn't it work? Right? Does that make sense? So this is the whole point, is that this is the basis of the Vedic culture. This is where the culture, it's not a bunch of rules. It's following the natural laws that are already there. Right? And so these natural laws in application have a natural form. That's the tradition. But it's not the form that makes it work. It's the law that makes it work. So if you follow the form and don't understand the law, you'll get some success, but it won't be as successful as if you actually understand what it's for. Does that make sense? Yeah, so it's a very deep subject, but devotees will treat it very lightly, like they generally do philosophy. But philosophy is only defining what's actually going on. Right? Philosophy says there is God. Right? So it's only defining what's already there. God's there. He already is who he is. Right? And in this connection, does that make sense? He already is who he is, and the scriptures define what's already there. It's not outside that. Yes.
Trying to follow some forms to produce something and not having success. There's like glimmers of this and glimmers of that, and this could happen and that could happen and so forth. But what attitude, the attitude is the important thing. What attitude should I have in terms of approaching the Supreme Lord? So I don't want to ask for material benedictions, trying to do something that's Krishna conscious. And, I can be resigned. It's probably a lot easier to be resigned that this is not going to happen and so forth, and just relax and, chant my japa and be comfortable. But there's an anxiety there that this is not happening, that I'm not getting this particular project together for Krishna. So how do I deal with that? Should I become like a real serious supplicant and pray constantly and so forth, or just allow Krishna to make his arrangements?
Okay. So anxiety here is over, because ultimately the result's up to Krishna. So do we resign ourselves just to Krishna will make, the arrangements? But then there's the anxiety that something's not happening. So how to get the balance, right?
The anxiety is there that I'm not doing enough myself.
Okay, not doing enough yourself. Okay. So, see, the important element in this is that there's no such thing as static. Right? Technically. There are static situations and understandings, but the jiva itself, there's no such thing as static, actually. Krishna can be either static or dynamic. Because as the masculine principle, he can either be himself, which is Atmarama, which is static, or dynamic in interacting with the creation. But the creation is exclusively dynamic, can't be static. Because being feminine, there's no such thing as the static situation. So the jiva must be interactive. Now the problem comes as balancing our interactiveness with that surrender to Krishna. right? But we can see is that they're actually in different positions. That surrender to Krishna as we're his servant, that's in the position of sambandha, as an identity, as the field. Because in the field of activities, there's going to be